Alright guys, what's going on? It's Rico, Sensei, and welcome back to another First Impressions. Last time I did First Impressions, it was on the series Fire Force. I'm still really enjoying that series, guys. And this First Impression is going to be on the series Dr. Stone. Dr. Stone is an interesting one because this one is pretty unique to everything else I've really talked about. This is something I can legit just have a discussion with you guys or with some of my friends. And before I get into this, I want to say I personally don't like watching anime that I'm already reading manga for. Like, I'm already caught up on One Piece, so I don't watch the anime. I'm already caught up on My Hero, so I don't watch the anime. And I'm about 55 chapters in Dr. Stone, so I wasn't really planning on watching that anime, but I'm kind of glad I did. Alright, so the synopsis of Dr. Stone, like I said before, is kind of interesting. So, everything's normal one day, and all of a sudden, everybody just turns into stone, and it takes 3,700 years later, I believe, until two people wake up from that long slumber. And I don't think they really showed this as well in the manga as they did in the anime, but to show how they were struggling to not lose consciousness for 3,000 years, 3,000 plus years, I'm sorry, it's kind of scary. Like, we have two characters. One of the characters, he was just so dedicated to love to where he just didn't want to give up. And the other character, our protagonist Senku, he was counting for 3,000 plus years. That's scary. Can you just imagine not being able to move, and the only thing that's conscious is, your brain, and you're counting. You can't do anything. And that's actually pretty scary. I don't think they covered that as well as the manga. It's been so long since I read the first few chapters, so I could be wrong about that. So yeah, now everyone's turned into stone, and it's back to pretty much the Stone Age, to where technology's no more, and we're pretty much learning how people back in way back in the day were surviving. Like, no technology whatsoever. And pretty much we have, again, our protagonist Senku, who is the brains, and Taiju, who is pretty much the brawn. And together they got to work together to try to survive, see what happens, and try and restore humanity. So that's pretty much episode 1. And we see throughout episode 1 the science and what they're trying to do to try and restore people, what kind of science there is, what kind of chemicals and whatnot there are to try and bring humanity back. At the end of the episode, I'm not going to spoil everything. At the end of the episode, we see that they figure out what ingredients or chemicals there are to bring people back from being stoned, I guess you could say. Not that kind of stoned, but being stoned. And the second episode, which I think is really interesting because we're introduced into our, antagonist, Shishio. Shishio was introduced really strongly. I think strongly in the anime, stronger in the anime than the manga, because in the manga he was still pretty intimidating, but in the anime it's way more intimidating, and you can see Senku already knows that he's a threat. I really like that. So Shishio is what they call the strongest high school student, I believe. I could be wrong about that, but he is pretty strong. He killed a lion with his bare hands. You could just tell how strong he is, because in one blow, he just killed somebody that was, stoned. Again, everyone's stoned. So if he rips a part of someone, that person's dead. Like, if he has a person's arm and it's just like this, and they just cut it off, that's that person's arm. So it's really sick. It's sick, and it's sick, like, in both ways. So we pretty much see what happened to Shishio as a child. His sister really liked the Little Mermaid, and he was trying to collect shells for her. He didn't really say his dad, but he said an elderly adult pretty much abused him to the point to where his face was barely recognizable, and he took his anger out on some random guy and killed him. Again, they were stoned, so I don't think they really felt it, but that's when Senku really realized that Shishio was a threat. I'm not gonna spoil any further because that's when the manga takes place. So there's only 2 episodes out at the moment. Again, I'm not gonna really spoil anything else. The art and animation, the art is kind of weird. I don't think I really there's some points to where it looks really modern, and then there's some points to where it looks kind of 90s 80ish. It's really weird. I don't know how to describe it, but I do like it. I love me some old school art style and old school animation. Soundtrack was pretty dope. Didn't hear too much of it. The opening's pretty catchy, I'm not gonna lie, and the ending's not too bad either. One thing I do have to say is in the anime they portrayed Senku differently than how I thought he was going to be in the manga. I thought he was going to be a little bit, or seem a little bit more friendlier in the anime than the manga. Again, that's just from what I've read, but here he still seems friendly, but he seems like a real know-it-all. And I didn't get that vibe in the manga, but apparently that's just how he is. I don't know how far they're gonna go into the anime. Hopefully, from what I've seen in the anime opening, I think where the anime opening is, that's where I left off in the manga. So we'll see where they go from there. I do believe this is also going to be a 24 episode series. My impressions, I like Dr. Stone. I really do. Again, it's really interesting. One way I can put it, if you guys watch Cells at Work, you know how it pretty much described the body in anime form. This is pretty much another like a science class, just in anime form. So it's really, especially later on in the manga, they just go about what this does, what that does. Like I'm not going to spoil everything, but they pretty much go about what stuff like sulfur does, stuff like glass does, how glass is made. Again, I'm not going to spoil it, but I am curious to know how long it's going to take for them to do some of that stuff, because the sulfur thing, it took about 2 chapters. So I wonder if they're going to make just a small montage of it or whatnot. I'm curious about that. But I do recommend you guys check out Dr. Stone. I'm reading it. It's really fun. And apparently now I'm watching it and it's still really fun. So I do recommend you guys try it out. See it for yourselves. And that's going to end it for this first impression, guys. What do you think of Dr. Stone? If you're watching it, comment below. Let me know if you like this video, guys. Give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed already, guys, be sure to do that as well. And I'll catch you guys on my next video. Take it easy, guys.